Freedom is the right to tell what they do not want to hear. CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Tired of the same repetitive government narratives? Then wave goodbye to the distractions and rhetoric of corporate media. For this is Anti-Media Radio.
But I want to get the language right.
The big government is in trouble.
You're all a bunch of slaves! Bunch of slaves!
What we need in the United States is not violence and lawlessness, but is love and wisdom and compassion toward one another.
What's your definition of media?
And now, here's your host, SM Gibson.
My name is SM Gibson, and this is Anti-Media Radio, your alternative to the corporate media and agenda. It is July the 23rd, 2015. For everyone that has not heard in the past, I guess, hour or so that there has been another shooting at a movie theater, this time in Lafayette, Louisiana. It appears right now, all the details are still coming together, but that there were 3 dead, and that includes the shooter, and 10 shot altogether, so 7 injuries and 3 dead. Just horribly terrible, sad news. They're saying that the shooter was a 58-year-old white male, lone white shooter. It was at the Grand Theater in Lafayette, Louisiana, in around 7:30 this evening. Train wreck. The most important thing is my thoughts and prayers go out to all the families of people that went to a movie tonight and they lost their life. It's just absolutely terribly sad. Real quick rundown, 653 Americans have been killed so far this year by police officers. The reverse of that stat is 68 officers have died in the line of duty. That includes 17 killed by gunfire, 18 in automobile accidents, and 11 of those by heart attack. Saudi Arabia, we finally cracked the code. We have a new number, finally, 103 people in the allies of the United States. 103 people have been beheaded so far this year. Apparently, Saudi Arabia was taking a break during Ramadan from the beheadings. And lastly, in the city of Chicago with their gun control laws, and we are going to get into all that here in a little bit. 1,508 people have been shot so far this year, 261 homicides. In the studio, as always, tonight, Mr. Shannon Madden. Shannon, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well, Mr. Gibson. Doing well. This is a tough one. This was a really, really tough one. Especially as we're in the middle of preparing for a show, and bam, we get this dropped in our lap. The first question I have, unfortunately, I've grown cynical whenever I'm delivered any news from any of the quote-unquote news organizations, and I have to wonder how this story eventually, which way, is there going to be more television shows we can't watch? Will there be more, will there be another flag taken away? Will there be now we're going to find out that the shooter wore Nike T-shirt, and suddenly now Nike T-shirts are going to be banned. I mean, exactly which way is this going to be spun? Number one, and number two, how will this story be used to obscure other underlying problems that we have? What's going to be swept under the rug while everyone's paying attention to
You're
this?
absolutely right. Hopefully that this doesn't become politicized and we focus on, the families of the deceased. Let's go ahead and, given the breaking news, let's go ahead and jump into callers tonight. We've got area code 480. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio. This is your host, SM Gibson. Tell us your name and where you're calling from tonight.
Yeah, this is Steven Simpson. I'm calling from Phoenix, Arizona.
Steven, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. Yourself?
Doing good. What would you like to talk about?
Well, I heard that there was another mass shooting going on.
Yeah, that's what we've been sitting here talking about, and still trying to piece together all the details and information right now. It appears, as we said at the top of the show, that 10 people were shot in total, 7 injured and 3 dead, but one of the dead includes the shooter, 58 years old, white male, supposedly the shooter, and he is dead, and it occurred around 7:30 tonight.
Well, I'm just, am I on air right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering, I know that there's been a lot of theories as to some of the motivations behind some of the spree killers and stuff like that. And like if you look at the Aurora, Colorado spree shooting that happened, a lot of people were thinking like perhaps that the shooter was kind of involved in some kind of psychological operations.
There's a lot of things to me with the Aurora shooting, including what you say as far as kind of a psych op, that a lot of that just doesn't add up. And for me personally, a lot of those different situations that you get, and they seem kind of iffy about it. And the one thing about these, we have to all say, unless we're on the inside, we can have, we can suspect all we want with this stuff, but nobody can say one way or another what they believe.
Well,
but
I would like to say that I actually feel like I've been involved in some kind of psychological operation.
Really?
And so, yeah, and that would actually be why I brought that up.
Real quick,
as nutty as that sounds.
Yeah, feel free to share your experience with us.
Yeah, definitely expound on that.
Okay. Well, as regards to the psychological operation involved, basically they use an LRAD type device where the infrasonic vibrations cause agitation and such like that, and it makes it so that you're not able to sleep, and it's actually a really potent tool for sleep deprivation.
I have actually heard a lot of people discuss this, including more often than not people that are veterans and coming back from overseas complain of this. Yeah,
well, that's because they've actually used some of that overseas. They were going to try and use the LRAD in a more official manner, but I guess that it was kind of pissing off the local population, as it were, so they decided to discontinue that. But in a related note, that Stanford has actually been recently tapped to begin researching the effects of LRAD on prison populations in California. And after I looked that up, I noticed that now, instead of saying that it's part of a research that's being conducted, that they're installing them there in case of prison riots. So I don't know to what extent that's true, but I'm sure if people get in touch with the prison population that's being subjected to that stuff, they might be able to find out what's going on.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience? Like, was it just you specifically, or was it like a mass group of people in the Phoenix area?
I have no idea. I can't speak to other people's involvement, but with regards to them being subjected to it. But I do know that I've been subjected to it. At first, I didn't even realize what was going on, that I would just randomly wake up. In fact, my communication devices have also been compromised, so I don't even know if I'm really talking to, you guys on the air right now, or if it's just some random guy that picked up a phone that hooked the call into it or whatever, you know what I mean?
This would be an excellent time to go ahead and plug the fact that our show is archived on YouTube.
It is. You can catch all of our shows on UCY.tv on YouTube, and you can also listen live.
If you're tripping, man, trust me, we're tripping with you.
UCY.tv/TAMR.
Okay, well, that's good then, because I've also been trying to find legal representation of some sort to be able to try to do Freedom of Information Act requests in order to figure out what's going on with my experiences, and without fail, and I know this sounds kind of like a pretty typical experience with offices, but it's either there's apparently, from what I see on the websites for like ACLU or the National Lawyer Guild Association or whatever, that there's only like P.O. box addresses that are left, and then email addresses. And then, of course, because of the signals intelligence operation that's part of the psychological operation that's going on, I haven't been able to get any successful contacts between any of these people and myself. So,
well, I tell you what, send us a message through Facebook, and we'll see if we can help you get that together and maybe get you some contacts. But we're going to go on to the next caller now, area code 260. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio. Tell us your name and where you're calling from tonight.
Hey, I'm John. I'm in Indiana.
John from Indiana. How you doing?
I'm good.
Fantastic. What is on your mind this evening?
Oh, well, I just saw the poster on Facebook on the anti-media, and I saw it was about like unification, and that's something I've been real big about lately. I'm sure a whole lot of people have been, with the racial flames in our country being stirred the way they have been.
Like the more that people aim to solve the problem, the more that there is division.
Yes, absolutely. It's like the media pushes so hard, and it's like now they're bringing up the like they brought up the Redskins a long time ago. They're starting to bring that issue up now, and it's like every single time it happens, they just try and throw as many things into the fold and cause a compounding issue problem. You know what I mean? And it's like, it drives me nuts. But it's like, I don't know. I just saw the poster. I was hoping that you guys were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely couldn't agree with you more. Shannon, I know you feel strongly about this.
A very, very hot button issue for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really there's been a lot of forced division, particularly as of late, between the races. Or it's kind of funny, from a very odd source, now we're having a lot of anti-Hispanic, or kind of a new surge of that via Donald Trump.
Right.
And now suddenly now instead of it just being a two-way fight, now it's a three-way fight. I mean, next thing you know, it's going to be like, world race death match.
Right.
Where we pit the Asians against the Hispanics, and we pit the whites and the blacks, and then whoever wins those fights gets to go on to the next round. And I don't know. I'm kind of pulling for the Cubans. They're kind of fiery.
Yeah. Ebb and flow, and it's like, and they toy with it, and it's like they have their polls, you know what I mean, and they test for public opinion and see like what kind of racism they can use to divide us with next, because they don't know when we're going to unite or something, you know what I mean, and it's like this whole like the people have got to get unified, and they got to do it quick, because I mean it's just. Shit's about to come to a head. The TPP is passing. They're getting ready to do the new gun ban on the veterans. You know what I mean? And it's like, and everybody's worried about the Dukes of Hazzard and shit. And
I'll tell you this: with the shooting that's going on in Lafayette right now, CNN about 15, 20 minutes before we went on the air, they cleared 5 minutes away at least from talking about the show or the shooting. And they start showing clips of Obama talking about gun control and all these different Congress people talking about gun control, and they start pushing just gun control in the middle of the shooting.
Well, and I can understand that because, I mean, Obama's done such a great job in his own backyard in Chicago with gun control. You see how well that experiment's worked out.
Yeah, and all the other cities with gun control in this country, all the liberal pilot cities are like hell on earth.
Absolutely. We don't need gun control. We need hate control, and that's really what it boils down to. And just by simply talking about the racial divide that we have here in this country, because I'm sorry, you can paint it any way you want to, and this faction just needs to get over it. Or
I tell you what, I want to. I'm sorry, I want to interrupt you real quick. We've just gotten. I've got a little bit of inside knowledge now. This has not been released yet, and this is unconfirmed, but supposedly the name of the shooter tonight is 58-year-old John Hauser.
Wow.
So we will see. That is all right now unconfirmed, but that is what I'm being told from my sources. We'll see how long the corporate media it takes to pick that up. But we're being told 58-year-old John Hauser was the shooter tonight in Lafayette, Louisiana, at the Grand Theater.
I'm curious to know if he follows the same trend as all of the other men recently.
Yeah, that's exactly what
anything that's brought up about antidepressants or any kind of big pharma medication that this guy was strung out on or doped up with, just like all of the other shooters have been. Sorry, that's the way.
Well, just his age already sets him apart from the other shooters.
This is true. He definitely doesn't fit our normal demographic for a spree shooter.
He does not.
Yeah, as a young, little boy.
Right. So we will see what transpires with this and what comes out.
And which way it's spun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very true.
Well, I'll tell you what, the SSRI and like that kid was on Suboxone, like those medications are still something to look for. Like you guys have heard of scopolamine?
No.
That's like devil's breath. You know, the powder they supposedly used to blow in people's faces to zombify them in Haiti? Supposedly there's something in Colombia or Brazil that's damn near identical. It grows from a flower that looks like a trumpet vine.
I believe I've heard about this, but I do not know any details about it myself.
I mean, I wouldn't be real surprised if they were putting these guys on something like this, or if they've been testing with something like this, because every time this happens, the next day these people come out all bug-eyed and stuff. I mean, this guy could actually be a guy on a tirade. I don't actually know what it was. I haven't really heard too much about what's going on in Louisiana. Have you guys been talking about that? Or?
Yeah, we have been. What we've got so far are 10 shot, 7 injured, 3 critical, I believe, 3 dead, and that includes the shooter, who, again, we are being told is 58-year-old John Hauser. So you're right. We will see. I believe it kind of made me a little nervous that they already started pushing the anti-gun agenda right in the middle.
Oh, they hadn't even pulled the bodies out of the theater yet, and we're already talking about gun control.
But usually we can tell by handles the situation, and if this is shoved down our throats for the next 2 weeks, or if it kind of goes away in a couple of days, you kind of know, because there are tons of just crazy people that go off and do these shootings, but those are the ones that typically they talk about it for 2 days and you don't hear about it anymore.
Actually, this doesn't really ever happen without all these scenarios lining up. Like, seriously, the next thing I'm thinking is, with the agenda, is this guy former military?
That's a very good question, if he is. And I guess only time will tell us that. But
I mean, we have the training exercises going on in Louisiana already, so that already fits the play, you know what I mean, for being in the false flag, if you're looking in the false flag direction.
Completely agree with you. But I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and go on to another caller right now, but thank you so much for calling in this evening.
Awesome. Hey, thanks for letting me on. You guys have a great night.
You too. Area code 720, welcome to Anti-Media Radio. Tell us your name and where you're calling from this evening. All right, looks like we dropped that call, but for anybody else that wants to call into the show tonight, please feel free. We can discuss what's going on in Louisiana tonight, or a host of other topics at area code 718-717-8296. So again, Shannon, I will repeat the breaking news one more time. We are being told that a 58-year-old white male, John Hauser, not being reported by the corporate media as of yet. We will see again how long that takes to come out. But he is now dead, along with 2 others, at the Grand Theater in Lafayette, Louisiana. Tonight around 7:30, at the movie Trainwreck, guy just goes in and starts shooting at another movie theater. We don't know really any more details than that. We know that the FBI is currently on the scene. Only time will tell. Is it something to be iffy of? Is it just a crazy man? Who knows?
Again, I guess we've gotten so conditioned to hearing things like this, and immediately the first question and it's almost like an instinct now, what's going to be shoved down our throats quietly behind the scenes while everybody's looking at this big fireworks display.
Very true. I tell you what, my gut feeling, and I could be way off on this, my gut feeling is this is actually just a crazy guy that went and shot up the place. That's my feeling on this so far. Because that does happen. Not everything that happens is a sign.
I'm not suggesting that. Okay, well maybe there's something more dark and sinister to an already very dark and sinister story. Even just an isolated lone gunman goes in the theater and blows people away. The point I'm trying to make is that while all the nation is going to be looking at this, and we're going to be hearing about this for the next several days, what real news, honest to God, real news that affects you and I and all the American people, like a lot of the other news that's quietly been slipped under the radar, some very, very large, life-changing, for if you're an American citizen, decisions with the TPP, with the Freedom Act.
That definitely happened.
And everybody's looking at Confederate flags, and please don't save our Duke boys, and please don't take this toy off the shelf, or please let's not do this. And America, I've got freedom of speech. You don't have freedom of speech. Eventually, at some point in time, we're not even going to be able to say the things we are over the internet. Come on now. And there's already been decisions that have started to lay the framework for that have quietly taken place while we've been looking at these fireworks displays.
Sure. I mean, you absolutely nailed it on the head with the TPP, and when the whole Charleston media blitz was going on.
I mean, that was some huge major news that was quietly just, hey, don't worry about this. It's okay. Mm-hmm. Hey, look at these Confederate flags over there. We're going to take that Confederate flag down right now. Don't worry what this guy's doing.
Because after they were done, and here's the thing, and I think this is your point, after they were done discussing the tragic murders of 9 people, they didn't really talk much about the kid involved. It just, conversation stopped, and then immediately we start talking about a flag for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's
not a deranged young man that was using some of Big Pharma's candy that they love all the kids.
And how many shootings are there where it is somebody on these,
particularly in modern history? Not very many at all. Well, especially when we're talking about spree murder.
It's always typically it's a white young man on all these psychotropic drugs, and they've got this crazy deranged look in their eye. Yeah. I personally, just right now, I don't feel like that's what this is. I don't feel like that's one of those scenarios. I get the impression that this is, some guy that
really didn't like the movie Trainwreck. That's for damn sure.
Apparently so. I mean, it seems to me like he had a.
Can you imagine the frame of mind it would take to walk into a room and just start indiscriminately shooting people? That's sick.
It really is. I mean, it's a sick world, and what we need to right now, what people need to focus on truly are the 2 that have been killed and the 7 that are injured. We know that they're reporting. The police department in Lafayette, sheriff's department are reporting that it's a range of injuries from critical to not quite as severe. So hopefully we don't have anybody else pass away from this tragic event.
Well, let's go deeper with this for a second. How could the government fix this? How can the government fix a crazy person? All right, let's take the gun away. Well, the guy really wants to kill some people, so go pick up some knives or go pick up, a bunch of glass bottles and start breaking glass bottles and stabbing them people.
And that actually happens in other countries around the world.
Absolutely.
Knife attacks happen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And, and eventually, so then we outlaw knives. Well, then
that's where,
get in your car and wait for people to come out and start running them over one by one.
Very true. So I want to go ahead and go to another caller right now. Area code 254. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio. This is your host, SM. Calling from tonight.
Hey, I'm calling from Killeen, Texas, right outside of Fort Hood, dude.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
Fantastic. What's on your mind this evening?
Well, I mean, the deflection. How they're deflecting us from the TPP and all that, man. It's and all my friends, they seem not to even care. So I'm like this outsider. I'm the crazy man. So
trust me, we know how that feels around here.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad.
Yeah, I'm glad. Just talk to a couple of like-minded people, man. Just makes me feel a little. Even my own family, they think I'm crazy. So when they passed a little deal for the GMOs and where they could label. Well, it hadn't passed yet. But the 1599,
the Dark Act.
Yes. So I told my mom about that. She's all wants to eat organic. I said, well, soon you're not going to be able to tell what's organic. I don't want to hear that.
I mean, really? Yeah, you're right.
It's very true, and that's terrifying. And to me, it's so terrifying, especially with the way so many of these quote unquote conservative, get the government out of our business politicians, their rhetoric is, then they turn around and vote for something like this that is just, the government's going to decide, all the state laws are out the window. You can't do this.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, America, we have no more democracy by definition. If I'm not, you know what I mean?
You are correct. By definition,
correct.
A study done by
Al Gore was
Stanford, we're officially, technically an oligarchy right now.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I'm all on Facebook, and I'm telling people do not vote because all you're doing is giving life and you know what I mean, to this dead democracy. You're keeping the, you know what I mean? It's my choice to vote or whatever. I'm like, oh my God, I'm I feel like a German and not They are coming for the Jews. They are coming for the Jews. And all the other Germans are like, you're crazy. They are not coming for the Jews. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And I can say that because I dated a German woman, and she was fully, so it's quite, and I was born in Germany, dude. My dad was in the military, so I think I can, make a little light.
It's true. You can say it anyway. We're not going to be offended around here.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys, I do catch your radio program from time to time. When I'm scrolling on Facebook, I'm like, oh, anti-media, let me, you know what I mean? So, keep up the good work because, we're it's over. It's, you know what I mean? I hate to be like, the harbinger of bad news, but, like I said, by definition, and I'm steadily posting on Facebook, by definition, you don't have a democracy, and nobody looks it up. I'm like, oligarchy, corporatocracy. You know what I mean? Fascism. Look it up, please. People, look it up.
Is that a Nicki Minaj song?
It is.
Yeah, if it's not a Nicki Minaj song, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. So, but I appreciate you guys, man, and you guys keep up the good work, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support.
All right.
And, everybody out there, just, when you come across some information, share it with your friends. Share it on Facebook. Share it on your social media pages. Talk to
Because that is, by definition, activism.
It is. That's exactly. We talked about this on our last show, and that's what activism is. Share, talk to your family about these things. And we know a lot of people have family members, especially family members that, they give them these crazy eyes and they look at them all nuts and, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about. But it's like the last gentleman just said. It's, the early 30s in Germany saying they're coming for the Jews. Somebody needs to do something about this because this doesn't look good. And everybody else in the rest of the country is like, you're crazy. That's
a bunch of crazy talk. They're here to do some cool stuff, man.
Right. They care about you.
We're tired of being poor. These people are talking about they're going to make us rich.
That's what happens when you put your faith in the government, basically, is when you put your faith in the government, then the government has free reign to do whatever it wants because you're not questioning their motives anymore because you have faith in them that ultimately, even though you may disagree with a politician here and there, you ultimately believe that the government has your best interest in heart and they're not really going to lie to you. And what we have found out over and over and over that it's just the opposite of that is that they do not have a record of telling the truth whatsoever. If we sat here on this radio show and told you over and over and over the sky was red and, said that the grass was, made of fire, you would say, well, that's obviously not true. I'm not going to believe anything else you say because you're lying to me. And to me, that's how I feel what the government has done, that they have been caught lying so many times over and over. How can we believe anything else that comes out of their mouth? And yet people still keep buying into it while at the same time saying, oh, I know the government lies. I know the politicians. Really, I trust
What
them.
can we do about it? I mean, these days, picking a presidential candidate is kind of like picking which one of the rapists is going to rape your wife tonight. I mean, really. And it's like...
and that's a very crass way of putting it, but that is how it feels.
It might be a little rough, so let's talk to this one over here, but ultimately, there's still going to be a rape occurring.
And that's what... People have just... I don't know if they've just thrown their hands up. I think there is a level of frustration in this country, and I think we're seeing a portion of the population express their frustration, and forgive me for saying his name, but through Donald Trump. And they're not listening. And they're not listening to the man's politics. What they're really hearing this guy say is he's talking bad about John McCain and Lindsey Graham and Rick Perry. And he's just saying this crazy stuff. He's telling Anderson Cooper, hey, guess what? Nobody trusts you. Nobody trusts the media. And I think that part of the message is resonating with people that are fed up, but they're too ashamed, I guess, or in denial to admit they're fed up, but they are, like, deep down. So I think that...
Well, it's just like our last caller said a moment ago. Even his own family is listening to what he's seeing on the news in black and white, not just whispers and rumors and, some underground, hey, man, you need to watch out for the spacemen that are coming to get you and that they're going to have to be the ones that have the pointy ears and so on and so forth. No, he's actually being very observant and looking past all of this screaming and fireworks and and shouting and, Bobby Jindal and Donald Trump. And he's looking past all of that and actually finding the news stories that are really directly affecting us as a whole, as a society, and trying to share those with his friends and family. And they're, oh, come on, man, not that conspiracy talk again. That's just a bunch of hooey. The Jews are, the Jews are
right.
Are going to burn.
And,
oh, that's crazy talk. No, them Germans wouldn't do
It is
that.
very similar, though, to basically apocalyptic Hitler trying to take over the world. The economy got better. They believed in this guy. They believed in his rhetoric. But we have such a longer history of that here, and we've been burned so many times because, and so many people still believe in the two-party system, which I don't personally understand how anybody could at this point, but let's talk about just things that are on the complete surface without getting in deep at all. And we've got Richard Nixon, who was a Republican. Had to leave office because he was caught lying. You have Bill Clinton, who is impeached, and for the layman out there, Richard Nixon was actually not impeached. Most people think that he was. He resigned. But Bill Clinton was actually impeached, only the second president to ever be impeached after Andrew Johnson. He did not have to leave office for his impeachment, but he had to answer questions relating to an affair because he lied under oath. And he was disbarred and is no longer allowed to practice law, and yet he continued being the leader of the free world.
Well, at the same time, though, I also don't think he was allowed to accept numbers in the Oval Office anymore either. And I think 2 years of that would have killed me, especially sitting in the most powerful seat in the land. When you're sitting in a chair that nice, there's only one thing that compliments sitting in a chair that nice. Just saying.
But both sides have been burned, and we're sitting here discussing an election with the possibility of another Bush, which we know that entire debacle, and also a Clinton. And so many people are turning to...
And a Trump. Don't forget a Trump.
Well, what a sideshow.
That's not real.
I really believe that his candidacy is being sponsored by Vince McMahon.
And made in Mexico. Oh, gracious.
So, again, for anybody that hasn't heard, it has come to our attention through an anonymous source, unconfirmed, that it is 58-year-old John Hauser is the shooter in Lafayette, Louisiana. Just terribly sad, crazy scene going on there right now. I'm still personally in shock that they had the audacity on massive major news networks. The bodies are still in the building, and they're going to devote an entire segment to gun control.
Absolutely.
Is that really? And what's funny is they were talking to somebody that was in the theater, and they were interviewing her, and somebody came up to her and asked her if she had a firearm on her. And she said no, and the response was, oh, because we want to know if you could protect yourself, because there's a shooting going on. They weren't asking her if she had a firearm on her, because she shouldn't have it. They were asking her, oh, if you have it, you're probably going to need it, because there's some crazy stuff going on right now. And that goes back to the stat that we said at the beginning of the show, and we say every Tuesday and Thursday here on Anti-Media Radio, is 1,508 people have been shot so far in the city of Chicago this year. 261 homicides, and this is a city that supposedly has these fantastic gun control laws.
We have half a year left, too.
We do. And supposedly these laws are in place to keep these shootings from happening, to keep people from getting killed, and it's doing just the opposite. It's because the law-abiding citizens do not have a way to protect themselves. And look, I'll be the first person to come forward and say, in a wonderful, perfect world, it would be great if we didn't have all these weapons on the street. It would be great if we didn't have all these guns, because, they're really, mostly, they're made and created to kill other people. Of course, we have hunters and that whole situation, but the majority of these weapons are made to inflict harm on another human being. It's the drug war. It's the drug war all over. That's the perfect scenario. You can outlaw the drugs all day long. People are still going to get them. They don't care about the laws.
And what do we do with the guns that are already on the street and in people's homes? I mean, so we need to just trust everybody that everybody's going to go and dispose of them safely in whatever collection bin that they're going to put them in, and we're going to what is the government going to do a house by house rid all your firearms? Hell no. And what that's going to do is you're going to have a lot of law-abiding citizens are going to go and dump their guns off and say, okay, glad that's all over with. And then they're going to be the easy.
I think there will be a section of people that do that, but I really don't think people would do that.
And according to the Constitution I read, they don't have to. In fact, quite the opposite.
No, they absolutely don't have to. But here's the question. Do you think that guns being outlawed would have saved these people in Louisiana tonight?
No,
because really, ultimately, that's all that matters.
I think quite the opposite, because you're going to always have crazy people. Crazy people are crazy people. There ain't no fixing crazy. Crazy is just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, especially when you add anti-anxiety medications and other psychotropic bullcrap that comes out of Big Pharma.
Mm-hmm.
But all that aside, you're always going to have crazy. You're always going to have some idiot's going to go grab a machete and try to kill a bunch of folks, trying to mow down a crowd full of people in a car. You're going to have that idiot. You're going to have that one idiot that is just that mentally unstable and that just screwed up in the head that's going to do something like this, regardless of whether they have a gun in their hand, whether they're sitting behind the wheel of a car, whether they have a machete, whether they go break off a tree branch somewhere and start beating people over the head with it. I mean, they're just those kind of crazy folks. And if you had everybody in the theater was armed, and they were all law-abiding citizens that had their permits and so on and so forth, and the proper background screening to make sure they were good, sane, normal people without a criminal background that weren't going to try to rob somebody with it or try to shoot somebody with it, that are just simply have it just to protect themselves, just for the mere protection of themselves, which I believe every person on the face of this earth is allowed to do.
You're right, but I tell you what, let's just hypothetically say, somebody with a criminal record has a gun, but everybody else has a gun. You would literally have to be crazy to walk up to somebody has a gun on them,
knowing that a whole room full of people have a gun, that you're only going to be able to squeeze off one or two shots
before one of those 8 other people,
before somebody drops your ass.
Mm-hmm. And that's what people don't realize is that so many guns have infiltrated this country. They're in the streets. They're everywhere. Everywhere. They're not going away, and we need to accept that they're not going away. So how do we handle what we have in front of us? How do we take the most rational approach to keeping everyone safe? You're not going to get rid of all the guns. Sorry, it's not going to happen. In a perfect world, great. That's fantastic. If we lived in, dreamland, neat. But it's not going to work.
Dreamland is right down the street.
It is. It's great barbecue.
Famous in Birmingham, Alabama. Delicious ribs. Try the original, close to Tuscaloosa. Roll Tide.
But really, the whole point, the argument, like what happened tonight from happening, is to keep these innocent people from being shot. It's to keep what happened in Charleston from happening. People want to blame it on the gun, or they want to blame it on a flag, or they want to blame it on white privilege, or whatever they want to blame it on. The facts are that there's some evil people in this world. It's how do you best approach these evil, crazy people? Do you keep everybody in the room as equal, on an equal level playing field, where they can protect themselves from this evil and this crazy, or do you just let the evil people run amok and do what they want because they don't care about the laws, and they're going to walk into theaters, or they're going to walk into churches, They're going to walk into schools or whatever the situation may be and blow away innocent people.
Well, my thought on this too is that, and I've got all of a sudden got like 15 different thoughts in my head at once. But again, look at all of the people that currently have a gun in their possession at this very moment. This is the only incident that I know of that's happening at this moment. You know how minuscule those odds are that a gun owner is going to go out and do something like this? How many guns are floating around right now? How many would you estimate? I guess we can
in the millions. In the millions.
Hundreds of millions.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Millions and millions.
It's over 100 million. I think I want to say one of the last numbers I saw was estimated around 150 million or so, which makes sense if you look at the population of the United States of legal registered gun owners. We had one not too terribly long ago. Is this a copycat of that? We don't know. Is this some crazy guy? That's kind of what it looks like right off the bat.
That's what it seems. We don't really know any.
But why do all of those other gun owners that are currently not doing this kind of crap with their gun, why should they be penalized, and why should they be put into a situation where they can't properly defend themselves or their family? I don't understand that.
And that's what it boils down to, is people defending their families.
I mean, I don't understand why the government needs to feel so safe that they need to disarm their citizens. I mean, we talk about the brand new technologies that the United States military has right now. They can do whatever they want to without it.
They can.
With impunity.
They can, and all the Second Amendment in the world's not going to stop the government with the technology they have in place today if they really, really, really wanted to do something to us. You could have all the arsenal you wanted. If they really wanted to, take you out, they could have a kid sitting in a room on a computer, fly some drones.
Just play a video game.
That's it.
Drinking a soda and eating some chips.
That's
and just playing a video game, and real people are.
And it's sad, but the technology exists now that has kind of outdated the theory that we need guns to protect ourselves from the government. Sure, still have them there for that reason, but ultimately the government can override that because they have the biggest weapon in the room. So but to stop somebody from breaking in your house, or if you're out somewhere and some lunatic shows up like this.
Mm-hmm. All it would have took maybe two people to be armed in that room, and that scenario probably would have went a lot different. I'm not saying that there wouldn't have been an incident, and there might be at least one death. There might have been one person injured. He may have just been able to pull the gun out, and somebody saw him and popped him cold. But at the same time, if you threw that in there, and of course, what you have here is you have a bunch of law-abiding citizens that read the little sign on the door that said no guns, and the registered gun owners that were in that room, and I'm sure there had to have been at least one or two.
Especially being in Louisiana.
Yeah, I'm sure a couple of them had a gun in their car, laying there on the floor, waiting for the shots to finish, wishing like hell that they could have brought their gun in to be able to protect themselves at that moment.
It's just
tough, man.
Terribly sad, and I hate that we kind of diverted off into the topic on gun control. It's an important topic, especially if they are, coming with it, and they unfortunately are, pulled that card tonight. It's just really sad how on every side, even us sitting here talking about it, responding to what was talked about, how politicized this stuff, how it becomes when, in reality, you still have 2 dead victims and you have 7 more injured, and then you have the shooter who killed himself, who, again, we are being told is 58-year-old John Hauser, from an unconfirmed source. I look to seeing how long it takes for the police to release his name and the corporate media to report this, or if they'll be able to break away from their agenda long enough to let us know. I do think it's interesting. Bobby Jindal was down there super fast.
Man, I mean, literally, he was there within, what, a half hour of this happening?
Yeah, it didn't take long.
Golly.
And I guess, good for him because, he's definitely on the
Well, there was there were a bunch of news cameras down there, too, so don't think for a second that Bobby Jindal, who is on the presidential campaign trail at the moment.
But, it is what it is.
For some national cameras to just show up in his state, yeah.
Right. He's a politician like any other politician.
Absolutely.
And nothing he's going to do or nothing, for that matter, that I'm going to do that's going to, give comfort to these families, in this time of going out to the movie theater. Think about that. Going out to the movie theater.
The families are really, really torn
on
up
a Thursday night, and we're going to go watch Trainwreck, and your child doesn't come home. That's just absolutely so sad. And again, our thoughts and prayers go out to those families and the injured in the hospital right now, and the entire community of Lafayette, because I'm sure in some way or another, Lafayette's very good sized town, but I'm sure a lot of people know people there, and so for that whole community, just my prayers go out to them.
Well, the last shooting that we had, which of course took place at the military compound in Chattanooga, I just wanted to touch on that just for half a minute. And I hate to shift gears, and I don't mean to, take away from this story, but I mean, we can talk about it ad nauseum until we really get all the facts in. Everything's speculation at this point. But I wanted to go over to that just for a quick second, because again, that's another one that raises issues of gun control. But more importantly, I think it raised an issue of base security. Here we have a United States military that spends how much annually? And can't afford a couple MPs to stand out front.
I mean, and that's not. That's not like that's
that's
the first mass shooting we've had on the military installment in this country either.
No. Recently, I might add.
Right.
I believe we had a fellow call in from Fort Hood or close to Fort Hood just a moment ago.
Mm-hmm.
Remember what happened down there?
And I don't understand that logic either, because you're in the military, your entire job, in one way or another, is to handle a firearm or to do a job that supports someone that handles a firearm. But it's all to make things easier for the people that handle firearms.
Yeah.
And yet, on their own military bases in this country,
they don't have, because again, we're talking about on a military base, there are certain areas you're not going to be able to carry a weapon or be able to handle a weapon, or that you have to check your weapon in, or so on and so forth. At the same time, that's what the military police are there for. So do we need to start contracting private police? Do they need? I think what part of the discussion now is hiring out private security firms. We need a private security firm to protect our troops.
Also, I just heard that they are saying that the 58-year-old John Hauser, that they're saying, again, from my source, is telling me it's from Alabama.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is nothing that's been reported on corporate media yet or released by the police department. So we'll see how long it takes for all this information to come out. But yeah, from here in Alabama, I don't know where in Alabama. My thought would be, somewhere down south in Louisiana, around the Mobile area. I don't know. They could have been from down the street here in Birmingham, for all I know.
So, and does your source has your source said that he is originally from Alabama, or does he currently live or reside in Alabama?
What I'm being told is the shooter was from Alabama, and it is 58-year-old John Hauser.
Okay, well.
So
and the details keep coming.
They do. So hopefully, definitely by the next time.
Rather curious that a man from Alabama that would find himself in a movie theater in Lafayette, Louisiana, to shoot up the place.
It is. You would definitely think.
Maybe get relocated to the area.
Anything's possible. It's all such complete
all
speculation. Definitely the next time we speak with you, it will be Tuesday. We should hopefully have a lot more information regarding Mr. 58-year-old Hauser and the situation. It's definitely a different scenario here for sure. Just based on the age alone, we don't see a lot of mass shootings in this country at such an older age. You know, most of the time they're between 20 and 24. And they all got the same bowl cut and the same wide eyes and the same prescription pad.
Mm-hmm.
So, only time will tell. You know, we can sit here and speculate all we want, but this definitely seems a little bit different, and it's a shame because it's still a crazy person. Let's, real quick, before we go off the air, take one more telephone call from area code 862. Let's see. Welcome to Anti-Media Radio. Looks like we lost that caller. That'll be all right. But we only have a couple of minutes here on the show. Shannon, why don't you give it and your thoughts on this whole situation, this whole deal?
We don't need gun control. We need hate control. I mean, that's what we're dealing with. You know, we can gun control it all we want to, and then suddenly we're going to create a big, giant, huge problem. It's kind of like having a roach problem. You know, you have a bunch of roaches in your house, and suddenly you say, nope, I'm never going to have any roaches again. And you're able to stomp out the few that you see on the floor and able to spray a little bug spray around and this, that, and the other. What you don't get to is the millions and millions and millions of roaches that are buried in your walls. And that's what we're dealing with this situation. You can argue gun control all you want to. That's fine and dandy. All right, go start collecting them. Go find them all. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah.
I mean, can you understand the manpower that it would take to be able to enforce such a thing?
It would be an absolute beast.
And then you go through all of that, and then you're going to find a bunch of roaches that you didn't get to. And those roaches are going to be held by people that do not have good intentions, that are not law-abiding citizens, because they're going to be breaking the law by owning this illegal gun. And then you're going to see the direct result of it. And look, if you're curious about how our current experiment's going, look at Chicago, Illinois. That's it.
You nailed it. 1,508 shots so far this year, turned 61 dead. But I tell you, we've only got less than a minute here. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in to the show tonight. We will see how accurate the information is. We heard tonight that 58-year-old John Hauser is the shooter by our reports, is what we are being told. Just remember, you heard it here first on Anti-Media Radio. Nick will be back with y'all on Monday, p.m. Eastern at www.ucy.tv/TAMR. And as every Tuesday and Thursday, me and our wonderful, astute, and acclaimed producer, Mr. Shannon Madden, will be here as well. Absolute great show, Shannon. You know, it's horrible it was under such a, sad subject. Shame what's going on in Louisiana, but see you next week, Shannon.
Herman Supreme 2016.
Peace out.
I'ma let them know through the stereo. Yo, here we go through the